there's a few streams going on. I appreciate you spending 20-25 minutes with me. So I'm Donny McCall. I'm the Director of Technical Services at HelpSystem. I'm also the Data Protection Officer for HelpSystem worldwide in 25 different locations. Why am I telling you that? I'm telling you that because I'm going to talk about managed file transfer, and I actually use managed file transfer to handle some of the GDPR requirements that I have as well. So I think when we talk about security, cyber security, I think we're in turbulent times. People are aware we need to be doing things, which is good. And when I'm out talking to customers and clients and prospects, I ask them what their top priorities and concerns are. These are just some of the items that come up. Where people say security is important to my management team, I like that. I'm quite pleased with that. And what we do find is that cyber security is really it's a growing priority in organisations. And I'm actually beginning to see people having budget allocated to do projects, which I'm pleased about. Really, really good. Bizarrely though, I see people that say they don't think compliance requirements apply to them. Now, I can only imagine that either they didn't know that policies and security policies apply to that company, or they actually don't have anything, which I really hope isn't the case, especially if they're looking after my data. Whether said, I'm not sure if compliance requirements apply to my organisation. I know a lot of people are unaware of the regulations and requirements that might be affecting them, which is pretty scary when you're thinking the rise in compliance, certainly with, I'm going to have to mention the GDPR as well, obviously. I do want to just mention something with a global VP at our US headquarters. And when he talks about security and compliance, he says he's really distinguished the two. And what he says to me is that security is securing access to data, preventing data breaches, and also preventing the unintentional access to data, which is fine. But he has a different take on compliance. And what he says to me is compliance is complying with the security policy. Now I get that, but if that security policy says your password should be 1 digit in length, here's a copy of all the payroll data, put it onto your PC, take it home unencrypted, and do whatever you want with it. That's a policy, you can comply with that, but it doesn't make it secure. Companies, and that's why I recommend that people have a managed file transfer solution. Now, we struggle to balance cybersecurity business efficiency. Now, a lot of organisations have good intentions, good intentions when it comes to implementing relevant cybersecurity solutions, but they also have the need to balance, a number of people said this to me here today, to balance efficiency, business efficiency. So cybersecurity can be a slow process of implementation, training, and ongoing, making sure that the solution's up to date and it's being used as it should be as well. What I found at HelpSystem over the last 4 years, managed file transfer and also robotic process automation are the two areas that have really grown and been really rapid. And when you think of it, they kind of tie into each other as well. If you're moving data from one place to another, you can use RPA to do that, but with the security of MFT solution as well. One of the top concerns is unsecure data transfer. And I'm really pleased about that, because it's about time that we started as companies to realise that the data transmission methods we're using probably aren't the best. Surprisingly, what I have found is a lot of the companies that are using unsecure data transmission methods aren't the smaller companies. They're the larger ones that have been doing the same thing year in, year out. And they're using PC-based tools, they're using FTP, and they just keep on doing it because it's what they've always done, and they find it harder to make the change. So when you hear people talking about concerns such as phishing, denial of service attacks, viruses, really managed file transfer or unsecure data file transfer methods really should be up there as well. Right, what I'm going to do, when it comes to file transfers and ensuring that security and compliance and business efficiency go hand in hand, I know it can be a challenge. What I'm going to do, I'll talk to you about some of the common challenges that people have told us about. We did a survey between about 890 customers responded last year. So some of the challenges that people have, I'm going to talk about how you can mitigate them, and then I will talk about managed file transfer. Now, I will, full disclosure, we do have a managed file transfer solution, but we talk about managed file transfer, what you should be looking for in general. So the most significant challenge we find is human error, typically caused by manual data and file transmissions. Lots of companies allow people to send files using unsecure data file transmissions, such as FTP, such as email. And people don't always realise that email isn't encrypted. It's typically or inherently not a secure method of transferring data. We see people using FileZilla, we've got them using PC-based tools, and it's just quite a dangerous thing to do. people forgetting to send files. Now, quite often we see people who forget totally to send data, or they're late in sending data. It can be embarrassing, but it can also be, it can lead to financial fines, regulatory compliance when you have to send data at the correct time. For companies who are considering an MST solution, what I suggest you do is actually not look at what you need, but look at the risks of not having one. Create a checklist and say, look, let's presume I've got nothing. I know I've got to send data. Know it's got to be secure. Make a list of the things that you would expect somebody handling your data to have, and then you've got a good chance of working out what you need in an MST solution. Question if the files are protected properly. Check if you've got sensitive data that needs to be encrypted, such as personal and financial data. Ask if the file transfer needs to be sent at a certain time to meet compliance, or just because you have to do it at a certain time. It's very common for people to send the wrong files. And I've two examples that we've seen, one internally, we've seen where we've had a quotation sent direct to an end client rather than to the partner, with a partner discount applied. Now that was embarrassing. Didn't get fined for that, it was just embarrassing. You know, we could see the discount that were applied. The other bit that I have seen, and this is where luckily it wasn't us internally, it was a customer that came to us and said we need to do something about this. They sent data to a company with the wrong name. It was a similar sounding name. They sent the data, it just happened. And that's really, say that could lead to a fine. Everybody is now a GDPR expert, and it's got to be weekly somebody says to me something, quotes the GDPR, not always correctly, but the good thing is I don't mind, because it means that people are taking security seriously. They know they have to make sure that other people's data is secure, not just their own. So when we look at inefficiencies in legacy and homegrown file transfers, quite often we see companies who try to do their own file transfers, and also a bit of a double whammy, they're using internal scripts, which is a real problem for me. So FTP is inherently insecure, and when you've written your own scripts, typically they're in plain text. So you've got your trading partners' passwords, the server IP addresses, the names in clear text. So anybody that can see those scripts can actually see all the credentials that you need to have. The other thing is, with FTP scripts, you really need a developer, not a developer, certainly a super user. Why is that? Well, if you're just using FTP to connect to a server, you need some sort of error checking. So what happens if you can't physically see the server you're connecting to or the trading partner? What if a firewall rules blocked it? What if the password's changed, for example? If that does happen, what do you do? Just ignore it? Well, you probably want to add in retries. You want to say, if I can't transfer this file or go and retrieve a file, I'm probably going to wait a minute, try again, third time, try again. If it doesn't work, then I need to do something about it. So you need to build an error check-in, typically you need a developer. If something does go wrong, you want to alert somebody to it. So how do you do that? Email, SMS, an alert to console. You need to build that in as well. Now, if you do that, you need to probably have a developer to do that, to do it efficiently and securely as well. And that's why I recommend you have a file transfer solution to do it. So hopefully you're getting the idea why I talk about having a central managed file transfer solution. More serious problems, encryption of data, or rather lack of encryption of data at rest and in motion. It's something I always go on about, at rest and in motion. And typically, the problem with data becoming unencrypted or being exposed is caused unwittingly by the people who are actually meant to be doing something with it. If you take something, real life example, payroll file. Now your payroll file internally, let's say you have to upload it to an external company to do it for you, that payroll file, I would guess, for everybody in this room is secure. It's in a secure location on your network. Whoever's tasked with doing it, if they're doing it manually, may, for example, take that file and send it. They might send it an email, terrible. They might copy it onto their own laptop or to an unsecure location to send it. And they'll send it off or upload it to the payroll company, and with great intention, they'll remove it from their laptop a few days later. Or they might not, they might totally forget. Some people also think they're being efficient by sharing files using cloud-based sharing like Dropbox. It's not as secure as you think. It also means you might possibly be overruling their internal policies IT put in place, or IT and governance have put in place to say you shouldn't have data leaving the company. And you have. You put it into Dropbox, again, probably stays there forever, like a lot of cloud-based systems do. And the company may not know they've actually put that data outside anyway. Now, I mentioned the error alerts. You need logging as well. The alert logs are audit logs. Again, you need to build that in if you don't have a managed file transfer solution. So it becomes difficult or possibly impossible to provide the level of information that you need to provide these days for certain regulatory compliances. So how do you know what you don't know? How do you know once you've sent a file that it's actually got there? Again, that's why I need an FT solution to do that. If you're sending it just hoping it's got there, not the best way of doing it. Again, we've had instances where the first time somebody knows the data hasn't got there, it's when somebody's rung them up and said, look, where's our data, where's our payroll file, where's our order file, whatever. For homegrown or just plain old legacy systems, it is becoming increasingly hard, and quite rightly so, to provide the granularity of the auditing that you need to provide. So login, basic developers, basic development, you have some log files, but now it's become really critical that you have things such as what files have been sent, who to, did somebody try and touch them on the way, were they interrupted, did the file transfer make it? And you need to do that for a lot of regulatory compliance as well. So really that's something that we need to really consider. Again, that's something that was brought up to meet the regulations. What we recommend at HelpSystem as a first stab is to get rid of your unsecure data file transfer protocols, so such as FTP, such as email, and start using things like SFTP or AS2 for your trading partners, or FTPS, for example. The reason being, you've got the ability to have authentication and encryption built in. The file, I mentioned this, shouldn't just be encrypted in transit, should be encrypted at rest as well, especially if you're staging files, like I mentioned, for example, onto your laptop. Even if you are being secure, you are being good, and you're staging files into your DMZ, you're making them closer to the public network, so they should be encrypted at all times anyway. The most common errors that we see with data file transmission is misconfiguration and accidental data breaches. Happens all the time. I always recommend you've got automation workflows. Why? Because it eliminates human error. So if you can eliminate human error, human mistakes, put it into an automated system that has the auditing and the logging as well, that's going to work as well. It's becoming really common now that companies have got a centralized MFT solution, which is really good. And it means that the PC-based tools that people have disparately throughout your network, throughout your different locations, using FTP, for example, you can totally eliminate them. If you have an MFT solution, you can block all data transfers, not just externally, but internally as well, to a single location, a single server, a single MFT solution, which is pretty neat. And it lets you configure alerts, configure your retries. I mentioned the audit trails and the audit logs. Now, you should keep audit logs for a long time, at least 12 months, at least a year regardless. Obviously, financial regulations might stipulate longer. I always keep them for a minimum of 13 months, even if I don't have to get past the year end as well. That's what I recommend you do that as well. So when you're looking at an MFT solution, these are the sort of things that we recommend you consider. Now, I say this is our own MFT solution, but really, again, this is a checklist I'd recommend we actually look for. If you look down at the bottom in the corner here, you can see some of the services and the systems that a managed file transfer solution should connect to, and therefore be able to share files between. It's an important consideration that you look at the operating systems and also the databases that a file transfer system can connect to, so it can grow with you as your requirements grow as well, and covers all the angles that you have. You'll see the operating systems, so that you can connect to with ours, Windows, Linux, IBM X, and so on. And also you need to think of the secure services. So it's great connecting to those operating systems, those databases, but when you send the data, talk about being secure, you need to be able to use SFTP. That's the most common, pretty common, is people using SFTP. We do have our retail clients use AS2, HTTPS, again, all with authentication. We do still allow you to use FTP, so we're not saying throw away everything we've done for the last 20 years or so. We're saying still use FTP for non-sensitive data. And the big advantage is that we can put a wrapper around it. We can give it a hug. So we can put a wrapper around your FTP script you've had, which adds on the error checking and the audit trail, so you can prove what's done if challenged. Look at the data connectors. So if you want to transfer data to other systems, you also need to obviously have a hybrid environment, connect to cloud as well. So you can connect to cloud services such as Amazon Web Services, your S3 buckets, your Azure Blob services as well as using your standard web services such as JSON as well, and then be able to pull data XML and RESTful APIs. You also probably need to connect into multiple databases. Got support for SQL, DB2. There's a translation tool I'll talk about in a moment as well. It takes a lot of effort out of it for you. And then finally down here, we've got agents. Now, if you have no other method of connecting to another system, such as a remote executing daemon to connect to, you can install an agent on there that lets your centralized system connect, talk to it securely and encrypted, and also run workflows on there as well. So you can actually initiate data transfer, pulls and pushes from there as well. We go up to the top, talk about the workflows. This is where you can add some real intelligence into it. This is where you can emulate what a person would do if you're actually doing this yourself, sitting there day in, day out, actually managing and nursing the data across the network. You can create workflows that connect to multiple systems, disparate systems. You can perform data transfers, encrypt them before they go, decrypt them at the other end as well, using AES and PGP encryption. You can zip and unzip the files using zip or gzip or tar, for example. I mentioned data translation, so when you connect into different databases, and this is where it's a really neat way of doing this, you might, for example, take data in CSV or in XML format and transfer it into another database like SQL or, for example, DB2, probably a less commonly used one for an IBMI system. You can make this managed file transfer system will do the translation for you, so you don't have to transfer it and then convert it, it'll do it, so it goes across for you. Now, when you're transferring data, again, you do it, it has to be trigger. You create a workflow, you go and transfer the data, you do it yourself if you wish. You can double click on an icon, you can send it. You might want to have a scheduler. If you want to schedule your file transfer to run at different times of day when you're not here, you have a scheduler that can send data month end, day end, several times a day, several times an hour. Have a vacation calendar to say if it's a bank holiday, do the data transfer the day before, the day after, do you skip it? Important bit is you've got an audit log of whether you've done it or not as well. The other way you can trigger it is using a file and folder monitor. So you can monitor a folder, for example, and if a file changes, that might signify that there's a new order that's happened. So maybe, at the moment, you'll look at the file, see there's an order placed, and then go and do something. You can have this doing it for you. You can monitor a file or a folder. When a change occurs, you can inside that file, use the workflow to actually place the order for you, send an email to say it's been placed, whatever you like. Again, there's a full audit trail. Don't just handle outbound transfers. You can also integrate the inbound transfers as well. So it comes with SFTP, HTTPS, AS2 servers, so your partners can connect internally as they wish and actually leave files, put files, push and pull files into a secure folder area that they've got, so you can do that as well. Secure forms is neat. Now I mentioned I use my MST solution for GDPR. Secure folders is just that. It's all part of the same solution. It's audit trails, it's audited. When somebody under the GDPR asks me for a copy or a company a copy of their information, they fill in a secure folder. There is a manual step there by choice. We have to verify who that person is. But it actually comes in requesting the information so we can log when it's come in. Once we manually recognise who it is, then we'll continue with the next step, and that's the manual process. We'll click it off and it'll go through and it'll go and gather all the information, package it up, securely transfer it to the other person so we can prove that they've got it. We can prove they've got receipt of it. Pretty good as well. If you're sending data that you might want to send information with, such as healthcare data, for example, you can also use the secure forms for that. The secure email, now really strangely, of all the people who spoke to today about transferring data and emails data, every single person's asked about secure email. That's been their main driving factor. Email is inherently insecure if you're attaching data to it. With this solution, you don't have secure email, it's encrypted. It's also compressed if you wish, but the big thing about it is you just use it from your normal Outlook client or wherever. You can actually send people a file and it doesn't ever leave your building. You just send them a link. So you get over with a limit internally of 10 meg. Can't send a file over 10 meg with my email. I can send any file, any size, because it doesn't actually leave your network. It stays in your network. You send a link, people see it, you can put an expiration date in that link, you can put a password on it, you can say they can download it once, whatever you like. So when they actually click on that link, it then comes back in via your MFT solution and retrieves the file. So it's totally within your control. And it has to be encrypted because we have no choice. We've encrypted it on the way, you can compress it, and we know they've got it, we know who's got it. Really neat way of doing it, and that's just one of the things you can do with the MFT solution. The partner management, you can use it internally for different departments. You can white label it, you can put a different logo on. You can give people a web page to go to send and receive files as well if you wish. So I guess what I'm saying is you have an MFT solution to do everything you currently do, and also add in all the benefits of having an industry strength MFT solution. So just a quick reminder. So what we're saying, we say don't use unsecure protocols like FTP. If you have to, let's put a wrapper around it for you. Encrypt your files in transit and at rest. I always say that, I keep going on about that. The batch workflows, so if you can automate it, automate it. Again, you can run it when you're not there, and it gives you the log files as well. The detailed audit trails, that's something that we get questioned about a lot. I always use the word when challenged. If we get challenged internally as a cybersecurity company, we have pen testing that happens without us knowing it. We have phishing emails that come through just to try and catch employees out. We have to prove what we've done, why, when and why. Now, common question I get is, it's all great talking about an MFT solution, but we've been doing the same thing for the last 20 or 30 years. How can we put in MFT and replace all our existing solutions? I'm going to say it's easy. I'm a techie, I'm not a salesperson, but probably an hour and a half, 2 hours, you install the managed file transfer system alongside. You pick a VMware server, you install it in the cloud, wherever you like. You install your managed file transfer system, and then you take your unsecure scripts you've had forever, put them into MFT. It gives you the error check-in, it gives you the audit as well. Take it across bit by bit. It's really quick. You've got the great backup plan. You've still got everything you already had before anyway. It's just that you've also got it in an industry-standard managed file transfer solution. The backup plan is really unique. What I've never seen, I've only been at HelpSystem 5 and a bit years, I've never seen anybody who's ever trialed or used this to go back to what they were doing before. I have seen them increase what they're doing with data transfers because they're confident. They can almost blame a third party, which is fine, but it's secure. So it's up to us to make sure it's what we do for a living. So we have seen people increase what they do for other companies because they're confident in their data transfers and their auditing as well. Now, this actual solution itself, although it connects to multiple systems, you can in fact install it natively onto Linux or Windows. You can install it to IBM if you really want, which is quite strange because a lot of people don't. Microsoft Azure, you install it into the cloud. There's also, and it literally only came out this week, a software as a service option that we're trialing with Wells Fargo and various other companies, where you don't have to install this at all. You can have it fully cloud-based if you wish. And then you literally create your own pockets, your own buckets, and then control everything from there as well, which is pretty neat. I know I've rattled through a lot in 20 minutes, as quick as I possibly can. On our website, you can get information on managed file transfer. Like I said, full disclosure, we have our own solution, of course we have. You can go to our website, you can download that, and it talks about all the things you should consider for a managed file transfer solution and the risk of not having one. And then anything at all they want to know, wander down to the booth, and we can even do a demo if you want. We've got a connection, we can show you a demo, but anything at all, just feel free to come and join us. Thank you very much.